What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Lumsden Motorsports Garage. I'm Wade Lumsden, and we are going to continue on with the hobby stock engine build here. And as you can see, the new oil pan showed up. We're going to give it a nice little test fit and go from there. So let's get to work. All right, so got the new oil pan out. I did notice it doesn't look like it came with any plugs. Not sure if that's how they come or not, but oh well, I guess I will get that figured out. So first thing I'm going to do is test fit this pan, and I already did that once, but here I go. I'm gonna set this bad boy on here, and it goes on. Look at that. Woo! Look, it's down nice and square. When I first put this on, it actually rocked and rolled a little bit, just a little like that, but now it's on nice and square. I think if you guys remember correctly, in the last video I talked about doing the clay method for clearance from your pickup to the bottom of your pan. Well, I did the straight edge method. I put a straight edge across here, like so, and then measured down to the block. And I also did it on the back side and measured down to the block. And it was right at what the depth, because again, I took a straight edge, set it across here, measured down to the bottom of the pan, which is 7 inches. And when I first took this measurement, it was 7 inches. So instructions say to put this in a vise and crush this little portion where it mounts to get your clearance. I didn't have a vise, so what I did is I actually I took a rag, covered it right here, and gave it a nice little taparoo with a rubber mallet, and now I have my clearance. So that's the way I'm going to do it. It calls for 3/16 to a 1/4 of an inch, and we're right in that ballpark, 1/4 of an inch in the front and 3/16 of an inch in the back. So rock and roll, right? So at least we got that going for us. I don't know what's going on with the no plugs on this pan though, so let me get it on at least, and then we will worry about what we're going to do from there. But before I go putting the pan on, I like to prime my pump. As you can see, I can reach down here and I can spin my pump by hand, and look at that, this is nice and upside down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some engine oil and I'm going to pour it on here nice and slow. It'll be really slow going in there, but try to get some fluid down into the tube and down into the oil pump. That way when we go to actually prime the pump and prime the whole oil system, the pump already has a little bit in it and it doesn't run dry. Though I'm pretty sure when they put these things together, they have they put an assembly lube or something in there. At least I would hope. I've never actually opened a brand new one up, but I would hope that there's some type of lubrication in there to protect this thing on its first startup. But I still like to do that, get a little bit down inside here and spin that around, get it primed up just a little bit. So you guys don't necessarily need to see me do that, but that's what I'm gonna do right now. Alrighty, next little bit I'm going to do here is I'm going to install this oil pan stud kit. We're going to blue Loctite the bottom of the stud, get all of our studs screwed into place, and get one step closer to installing this pan. So there's going to be 4 studs that are larger diameter. They'll go in the 4 corners, here, 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 and here. It's the same thing with your bolts. There's going to be 4 larger bolts. They're usually a 1/2 inch head. But we're just going to use just a little bit of blue Loctite to hold these things in place and get them screwed in, because you don't want them backing off. I have never used blue Loctite on bolts, on regular oil pan bolts. I don't use Loctite on oil pan bolts. Just make sure I got the good washers. But since these are studs, I don't want the studs backing out. So that's why we're using the Loctite. Double nut method here to get them to screw in. Okay, sorry, camera died, but we are all on here. These are all nice and tight. Something else that we got to do is get our oil filter adapter on. I just wanted to show you. It's really easy. It just, it sits in there and it bolts in place, right? 2 bolts, that's all there is to it. But something that we do to our race motors, you'll notice there's a freeze plug right here. Normally there's a spring loaded deal in here for the bypass. We put a freeze plug in, and then I put a little bit of JB weld in the backside to plug this off. That way when you get up into the higher RPMs and your oil pressure goes up, it doesn't bypass the filter. It forces all that oil to go through the filter and get cleaned. So that's something I do, something I was taught to do as a kid and just continue on doing. So I don't know if I would suggest that on any of your street rigs or anything like that, but it's what I do for my race motors. So with that being said, I am going to shove that thing in there. I'm going to get my 2 bolts and I am going to tighten it down, and then maybe, just maybe, I might have an oil filter that I can fill up and put on it, and then maybe we'll get some oil in this thing. Yeah. But before we prime everything, we still got to get our plate. I think I have a plate for this. A fuel pump rod. Again, we'll just put some, because it rides on the camshaft, right? So we'll put some assembly lube on the end of the fuel pump rod. We'll get it shoved in there, get that closed up tight, and then you actually got to come over here and plug off with a bolt to make sure that make sure no oil comes out, because you can see it just goes right into that passage. So got to make sure that's done. And then we will, yeah, maybe we'll flip this thing over and prime it with oil, and then still got to find two deals for the oil pan, this side of the oil pan. 2 plugs. I found 1 plug for the actual drain plugs apart, but I find a plug for there and a plug for there. And man, other than that stuff and valve covers, I think this thing's almost ready to be sent on its way. That'll feel real good to get it gone. So all right, got my gasket for the fuel pump plate here on, and that should be good to go. This is what I was talking about, getting a bolt, get the smallest bolt you possibly can. This hole right here on this small block 350 goes all the way through to where it would actually touch the fuel pump rod. So when you're installing a fuel pump, you can actually get a nice long one screwed in there by hand and kind of push it up against that fuel pump rod, and it'll hold that rod in place while you're changing the fuel pump. But you have to remember to plug it off, otherwise it leaks oil, because that still gets oil through there. So that's what I was talking about as far as that goes. Alrighty guys, I got some plugs in. I found some plugs. I had to steal a plug off of a other pan that's not being used. I'm going to suggest that he changes that, or at least the seal. I got me an oil filter on. This one's a Fram. I normally use Napa Gold or a Wix filter, but since this has got break-in oil in it, Penn grade 30 break-in oil, really once the motor is broke in, you should change the oil. So I kind of I don't know, I guess I'm cheap with that first filter. It's a thing. Throw a cheap filter on there because I know it's going to get changed after the break-in process. We got our plate in place here. The fuel pump rod is in. You can see that it slid down because I used a short bolt. I'm pretty ecstatic with where we sit. I went ahead and filled it full of oil so that portion is ready to go, and I think I'm going to go ahead and prime the system for him. And I'm not going to tell him that, so he primes it again himself before he fires it up. But got one of these prime tools. If you don't have one, really get one. I mean, you can do it with like I don't know, I've done it with a really long screwdriver and a drill and stuff before, and it sucks. But there's the slot. If you go back to when we installed the oil pump, you remember me telling you about the slot where the distributor locks into. That's what that does. And then this upper portion keeps it set and nice and pretty on the upper part of the intake. And then there's that bushing to help keep it locked in place. And then, of course, every once in a while I have dumb moments. I drew the arrow to make sure that I rotate this thing in the proper direction. There we go. So I'm going to grab a drill, pump it up there, and then what we're looking for is there's little oil holes here on top of the lifters. All right. What we're looking for is oil to come out of all of them there lifters all the way down, and then you know your system's primed. So after we get this thing primed, like I said, I think the only other thing to figure out is valve covers. I'll show you. These are what came off his old motor, and I don't know, I put all his old bolts and stuff in there, but I don't know if I like those. These are the super cheap thin ones, so when you tighten them down they like bend and don't have a very good seal. But yeah, I'm not a fan. What I'm hoping he's gonna do is go get a little bit more expensive aluminum set that when you tighten them down, I mean they're nice and solid and they won't bend. And then I'm also hoping that he'll get himself a stud kit here so that it's on and off with studs, and then you're just putting nuts on. Because when you're at the track trying to put bolts on, and it's just a pain. So get the stud kit and keep some extra nuts around in case you drop a nut. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime this system up, and yeah, here we go. Got some oil on this lifter. I don't know if I got any oil on the other lifters yet. Yeah, a little bit coming out of that one. This one's almost full. Alright, that one's full. We got oil in this one. That one's full, that one's full. Getting oil. That one's full, getting oil. Still just gotta get some more into the other. Go! Okay, I think we're officially done with what we're gonna do. It's all primed up and stuff. This will get just covered up, bagged up for tonight. But tomorrow we'll end up wrapping it up in plastic wrap. Basically the same stuff you guys would wrap your tires in, right? So she's gonna get wrapped up nice and tight. And then we are going to send her on her way. It is currently midnight, so that makes it Wednesday morning. But Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, I guess. My brother will be taking the engine in my truck to Fallon tomorrow night after work, and so I'll get my truck back Wednesday or Thursday morning. And we race Friday, and guess what? Since I put the motor in, since I put the 604 crate in, I haven't touched it. So I got lots of work to do, transmission, all that happy stuff. So it's going to be a mad dash scramble to get finished and get rocking and rolling with my car, right? But at least this is done. I can send it off with my brother, and he can do whatever the heck it is he's going to do. Hopefully he'll be able to make it, and we'll both be able to race Friday and Saturday night. So that's going to be it for basically the hobby stock motor build. Thanks for watching the series. If you guys got any questions, comments, concerns, down below. Again, thanks for watching. Lumsden Motorsports Facebook page. Cross your fingers for me because I still got a bunch to do. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next video.